Have you ever felt like you're drifting through life, disconnected and searching for meaning, but never quite finding it? Like the answers you need, the answers that could change everything, are just out of reach, hidden in a fog. What if those answers aren't out there in the world, but hidden deep inside you, in the shadows you've been avoiding your entire life?
When I think of my patients, they all seek their own existence, and to assure their existence against that complete atomization into nothingness or into meaninglessness. Man cannot stand a meaningless life.
Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist who changed the way we understand ourselves and the world around us. Jung didn't just ask questions about the mind. He explored the parts most people fear to confront, the unconscious, the shadow, the buried fears and desires we all hide from the world, and even from ourselves. For Jung, life was more than just a series of random events or a quest for success. He believed that life had a deeper meaning, a meaning that could only be discovered by facing the darkest, most hidden parts of our psyche. The truth, he said, lies not in avoiding our struggles, but in confronting them head-on. To Jung, life was not a puzzle to be solved, but a mystery to be experienced and unraveled.
I stepped out of a mist. It was just as if I had been in a mist, walking in a mist, and I stepped out of it and I knew I am. And then I thought, but what have I been before? And then I found that I had been in a mist. Not knowing to differentiate myself from things.
Jung's journey to uncover the meaning of life wasn't something he learned in books or through abstract theories. It was born out of his own personal experiences, his own struggles with meaning, identity, and the darker sides of his psyche. As a young boy, Jung often felt isolated, lost in his thoughts, and haunted by strange dreams and visions. These early experiences led him to ask questions that most of us shy away from. Who am I? Why do I feel the way I do? What is the purpose of all this? From a young age, Jung realized that life was more complex than what we see on the surface. There was a depth to human experience that wasn't being explored by the psychologists of his time. So, Jung set out on a journey that would take him deep into the human mind and far beyond the boundaries of traditional science. He believed that life was like a grand adventure, and each of us is called to set out on our own path of discovery. But unlike most adventures, this wasn't about conquering lands or achieving external success. Jung's adventure was an inner one, a journey to confront the unknown within ourselves. Jung's life, like the lives of many of us, was shaped by a series of challenges and crises. He faced moments of deep confusion and doubt, times when the world didn't make sense. Yet, instead of running away from those difficult moments, Jung embraced them. He believed that crises, darkness, and uncertainty weren't obstacles to be avoided. They were signposts, pointing us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves. He understood that meaning couldn't be found by staying in our comfort zones. It had to be earned through struggle, introspection, and facing our fears. In the face of modern society's obsession with external success, Jung reminded us that the true adventure is within. In the early stages of his career, Jung worked closely with Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Freud believed that much of human behavior could be explained by unconscious drives, particularly sexual ones. His theories revolutionized psychology, but Jung found himself dissatisfied. He felt Freud's theories were too narrow, too focused on the material and biological aspects of human nature. For Jung, the human mind was far more expansive. He saw it not just as a collection of unconscious drives, but as a vast, mysterious landscape filled with symbols, dreams, and connections that stretched across time and culture. This led to a deep disagreement between Jung and Freud. Where Freud saw the unconscious as a storehouse of repressed desires, Jung saw it as a gateway to something much larger, the collective unconscious. The break between the two men was painful, but it was a turning point for Jung. It allowed him to pursue his own path, a path that would lead him to some of the most profound insights into the nature of the human experience.
I remember you said that death is psychologically just as important as birth, but surely it can't be like birth if it's an end, can it?
Yes, if it's an end. And there we are not quite certain about this end. You can have dreams or visions of the future. You can see round corners and such things. Only ignorance deny these facts. And that means a practical continuation of life, of a sort of psychical existence beyond time and space.
Probably the most important idea Jung introduced to the world was the concept of the shadow. The shadow is made up of all the parts of ourselves we suppress, ignore, or deny. It contains the traits we consider negative, our anger, jealousy, greed, but also qualities we admire in others, but refuse to acknowledge in ourselves, such as strength or assertiveness. For us, the shadow is terrifying because it forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we don't like. We spend our lives pushing these parts of ourselves into the background, pretending they don't exist. But according to Jung, this is precisely why so many of us feel lost and disconnected. The key to understanding the shadow, Jung said, was that it wasn't evil. It was simply unexamined. The more we run from it, the more power it has. But when we turn to face it, when we bring it into the light, we take back control. We integrate those forgotten parts of ourselves, and in doing so, we come closer to being whole. Jung believed that this confrontation with the shadow was one of the most important steps in our journey toward meaning. If we can learn to face the parts of ourselves that make us uncomfortable, we can begin to live more authentic, fulfilled lives. But Jung didn't stop there. He believed that our shadow wasn't just a collection of individual fears and flaws. It was part of a much larger picture. He saw the shadow as part of a greater process, a journey he called individuation. Individuation wasn't about becoming perfect. It was about becoming whole. And this meant accepting every part of ourselves, both the light and the dark. Individuation is the central idea in Jung's work. It is the process of becoming who we truly are, not just who we think we should be. But here's the catch. Individuation doesn't happen by avoiding our problems or running away from our fears. It happens by facing them head on. Jung believed that each of us is born with a vast potential, but as we grow up, we learn to suppress parts of ourselves in order to fit in with society. We put on masks, what Jung called the persona, to please others and avoid conflict. Over time, we begin to believe that the mask is who we really are. But deep down, we know something's missing. We feel a sense of emptiness or unease because we've lost touch with our true selves. The process of individuation is about stripping away the masks, confronting the shadow, and embracing our full complexity. This process isn't easy. It requires us to look at parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore, to confront painful memories and experiences, and to accept the parts of ourselves that society tells us to hide. But Jung believed that without this process, we would never experience true fulfillment. He warned that if we avoid this journey, we'll end up projecting our unresolved issues onto others. We'll blame others for the things we can't accept in ourselves. But when we embrace our complexity, when we integrate both the light and the dark, we begin to find peace, purpose, and a deeper understanding of what life is really about. One of Jung's most groundbreaking ideas was the concept of the collective unconscious. Unlike Freud, who believed that the unconscious was a personal storehouse of repressed desires, Jung argued that there was a deeper layer, a universal unconscious shared by all humans. This collective unconscious, Jung said, was filled with archetypes, universal symbols and patterns that appear in myths, religions, and stories across cultures and time. Archetypes like the hero, the mother, the wise old man, and the trickster reflect fundamental human experiences that transcend any individual culture or time period. For Jung, these archetypes were more than just symbols. They were living forces within the human psyche, shaping our thoughts, dreams, and behaviors. By recognizing these patterns in ourselves, we could better understand our own lives and the challenges we face. The collective unconscious was also a reminder that we are not alone in our struggles. The experiences we have, the challenges we face, are part of a much larger human story. We are connected to all who have come before us and all who will come after us.
You see, we depend largely upon our history, and that is a most decisive factor in psychology. And we are not of today or of yesterday. We are of an immense age.
For Jung, understanding the collective unconscious wasn't just an intellectual exercise. It was a path to finding meaning in our own lives. By tapping into the wisdom of the past, we can begin to make sense of the present and find our place in the world. Jung believed that one of the most direct ways to access the unconscious, both personal and collective, was through our dreams. He saw dreams not as random, meaningless images, but as windows into the deeper layers of our psyche. In our dreams, the unconscious speaks to us in symbols and metaphors. The characters we meet, the places we visit, and the events that unfold in our dreams are often expressions of our deepest fears, desires, and unresolved conflicts. They also reveal the archetypes at play in our lives, the hero's journey, the confrontation with the shadow, and the search for wholeness. For Jung, dream analysis wasn't about finding simple answers or quick fixes. It was about engaging in a dialogue with the unconscious, learning to understand the messages it was sending us, and using those insights to guide our personal growth. By paying attention to our dreams, we can begin to understand the hidden forces that shape our lives. We can confront our fears, embrace our potential, and move closer to the wholeness that Jung believed was the true meaning of life. Carl Jung's ideas challenge us to rethink what it means to live a meaningful life. He reminds us that life isn't about avoiding discomfort or seeking external validation. It's about embarking on a journey inward, a journey to confront our shadow, embrace our complexity, and integrate the unconscious parts of ourselves. In doing so, we don't just find personal fulfillment. We become part of something much larger, a shared human experience that stretches across time and culture. We tap into the wisdom of the collective unconscious and find our place in the grand story of humanity. For Jung, the meaning of life isn't something you find out there in the world. It's something you discover within yourself, through the process of individuation, through the integration of the conscious and unconscious mind, and through the courage to face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. So, what is the meaning of life? According to Jung, it's not a destination. It's a journey toward wholeness. And that journey begins the moment you decide to turn inward and face the unknown within yourself.